Here we go with a new story at Dusk and Tales. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with us, for choosing this moment of quiet, of peace, of letting the world outside fade away, just for a little while. Before our story begins, let's take a moment together, just you and I. A moment to let go of everything you've been carrying. Find your comfortable position, however that looks for you tonight, lying down perhaps, or sitting back in a chair that knows the shape of you. Let your body settle, let it be held. You don't need to hold yourself up anymore. Take a breath, slow, deep. Feel it fill your lungs. Hold it there for just a heartbeat. Now release. Feel the day leaving with it, the tension, the worry, the endless thinking. All of it can wait until tomorrow. Another breath, even slower this time. Let your shoulders drop. You might be holding them up without realizing it. Let them fall. Let your jaw relax, your hands unclench, your forehead smooth. If you'd like, adjust the lighting around you, dim it, or turn it off completely. Let darkness become your friend tonight. A soft blanket between you and everything else. For the next few hours, nothing matters but this story, this journey we're about to take together. Your responsibilities will wait. Your worries will still be there tomorrow if you need them. But right now, they have no claim on you. Close your eyes if that feels right, or let them rest unfocused, seeing nothing in particular. There's no wrong way to do this. Just be here, present, breathing. Tonight, we travel to ancient Rome, to the city of Pompeii, to August in the year 79 AD, to a day that seemed like any other day, a day of ordinary life, of routine and ritual and the small moments that make up a human existence. We follow a man named Marcus, a scribe, a keeper of records, a man who spends his days writing down the mundane details of commerce and law and daily life. A man who doesn't know that tomorrow everything ends. But this isn't a story about the ending, it's a story about the day before, about the beauty of not knowing, about living fully in a moment that feels like it will last forever. Let yourself settle deeper now. Feel your breathing slow. Feel your thoughts beginning to quiet. The story will carry you. You don't need to remember details. Don't need to stay alert. In fact, if sleep finds you before the story ends, that's perfect. That's exactly what should happen. The story begins with morning, with sunlight, with a man waking to what he thinks is just another ordinary day. Marcus wakes before dawn. He always does, not because of duty or discipline, though he has both, but because his body has learned the rhythm over 43 years of life, has learned to wake when the city is still mostly quiet, when the streets haven't yet filled with voices and cartwheels and the thousand small sounds of civilization going about its business. He lies still for a moment, eyes closed, listening. His wife Claudia breathes softly beside him. She'll sleep another hour at least. She's always been able to sleep longer than him, deeper than him. One of the small differences between them that have become familiar over 20 years of marriage. The house is quiet. Their son Lucius still asleep in his room, 15 years old and able to sleep through anything, through earthquakes, through festivals, through his parents' occasional arguments, the sleep of youth, of someone who doesn't yet understand that time is finite. Marcus opens his eyes. The room is dark, but not completely. Gray light seeps through the gap where the curtain doesn't quite meet the wall. Dawn coming, as it always comes, as it always will come. He rises carefully, quietly. The bed doesn't creak. Good Roman construction, solid, built to last generations. His feet find the floor, warm already. August in Pompeii is always warm, sometimes unbearably so, but this morning feels pleasant. The air through the window carries a hint of something, sea breeze maybe, or just the coolness that exists in the hour before the sun rises. He dresses in the dark, tunic, belt, sandals, the same routine he's performed thousands of times. His hands know the motions without thought, without consciousness, muscle memory built over decades. In the atrium he pauses. The house is beautiful in the pre-dawn light. His house, his home, bought with 15 years of careful savings, of taking every commission, every contract, every merchant who needed documents drawn up, every will, every property transfer, every lawsuit, the endless paperwork that keeps civilization running. The atrium's impluvium reflects the gray sky, still water, perfect, like a mirror. He remembers when they first moved here, how Claudia stood in this exact spot and cried, happy tears, relieved tears. They had lived in a tiny apartment before, 2 rooms above a fuller's shop, the smell of urine and lye seeping through the floors. This house was paradise by comparison, still is. The household gods watch from their shrine, small figures, bronze, their faces serene, indifferent. Marcus nods to them out of habit. He is not particularly religious, not like Claudia, but respect costs nothing, and the gods, if they exist, seem to appreciate respect. He steps out into the street. The city is waking slowly. A few other early risers moving through the grey light, a baker already at work. The smell of bread baking drifts from an open door, warm, yeasty, comforting. Marcus walks, not toward his office, not yet. First, he walks. It's become his ritual every morning. Walk through the city as it wakes. See it fresh, see it new, see it the way it actually is rather than the way habit makes it invisible. Pompeii is beautiful at this hour. The white stone of the buildings glows in the early light. The streets are clean, swept by slaves and workers who labor while others sleep. The graffiti on the walls is less noticeable in the dim light, less crude, less vulgar, just shadows and texture. He passes the forum, empty now. In a few hours it will fill with merchants and lawyers and politicians and citizens arguing about taxes and trade and all the things people argue about when they have the luxury of stability, when they have the luxury of thinking beyond mere survival. The temple stands silent, doors closed, the priests still sleeping or preparing for whatever rituals fill their days. Marcus has never understood the appeal of priesthood. Spending your life mediating between humans and gods who may or may not care. But someone has to do it. Someone has to maintain the forms, the traditions, the things that connect present to past. He climbs. The city is built on a slope, rising from the port toward the mountains. He climbs toward the higher districts, where the wealthy live, where the views are better, where the air is cleaner. At the top of the Via dell'Abbondanza, he pauses, looks out over the city, over the rooftops, toward the sea. The Bay of Naples stretches dark and vast. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the sky is lighter now, pink, orange, the colors of dawn. Behind him, Mount Vesuvius rises, dark against the lightening sky. He's lived his entire life in its shadow. Everyone in Pompeii has. It's just part of the landscape, part of the world. A mountain, nothing more, nothing less. Sometimes it smokes, not often, just occasionally. A thin plume rising from the summit. People say it's the forges of Vulcan beneath the mountain, the god of fire and metalwork, making weapons for Mars, making jewelry for Venus, the stories people tell to explain what they don't understand. The mountain isn't smoking today, just standing there, solid, permanent, eternal. Marcus breathes deep. The air is clean up here, fresh. He can smell the sea, salt and fish and distance. He can smell the pines from the mountains, resin and green and wildness. This is why he walks, for moments like this, for the reminder that the world is larger than documents and contracts and the endless small concerns that fill his days. For the reminder that beauty exists, that peace exists, that there are things beyond commerce and duty. A dog barks somewhere below, the city stirring, waking, beginning its day. Marcus turns, walks back down, toward his office, toward his work, toward the life he's built over 4 decades. The good life, the quiet life, the life of a man who's done nothing particularly remarkable, but has also done nothing particularly wrong. A life lived in the middle, in the comfortable center where most lives are actually lived. His office sits on a corner near the forum, a small space, 2 rooms, one for meeting clients, one for storing documents and doing the actual work, both rooms lined with shelves, scrolls and tablets and wax writing boards. The accumulated records of hundreds of transactions, of lives intersecting through commerce and law and the structures that bind people together. His assistant is already there, Titus, 23 years old, ambitious, smart, learning the trade. He'll probably take over the business when Marcus retires. If Marcus retires, he hasn't decided yet. What does a scribe do when he stops being a scribe? Early morning, Master, Titus says. Not really a question, just acknowledgement. He's used to Marcus arriving before him, used to finding documents already spread out, work already begun. Couldn't sleep, Marcus lies. He slept fine. He just prefers morning, prefers starting before the day gets complicated. We have the cashier's contract to finalize today, Titus reminds him. He's coming at the 3rd hour, wants everything ready to sign. Marcus nods. He remembers. A property sale, simple enough. A vineyard on the slopes north of the city. Cassius selling to a merchant from Rome. Good price. Fair terms. The kind of transaction that goes smoothly when everyone is honest, which in Marcus's experience is more often than people think. Most people are honest. Most people just want to live their lives without trouble. I'll prepare the documents now, Marcus says. You handle any walk-ins, nothing complicated. If it's complicated, tell them to come back tomorrow. Titus nods, goes to his corner, begins organizing his own work. He's good, careful, neat handwriting, attention to detail, all the things a scribe needs. Marcus is lucky to have him. Marcus settles at his desk, unrolls the contract, reads through it again, making sure everything is correct, every detail, every number, every name spelled properly. This is the work, not glamorous, not exciting, but necessary, vital. Without scribes, civilization would crumble. No one would know who owned what, who owed whom, what agreements had been made. Memory fails, documents endure. The morning sun begins to stream through the window, warm, bright. Marcus positions himself so the light falls across his work, but not directly in his eyes. His desk is worn smooth from years of use, the grain of the wood visible, beautiful in its plainness, in its functionality. He dips his stylus in ink, begins to write. The Latin flows from his hand, practiced, elegant, not quite calligraphy, but close. He takes pride in his handwriting, always has. When you spend your life writing, you might as well do it beautifully. The scratch of stylus on papyrus, one of the most familiar sounds in his life, more familiar than his own voice, more constant than his own breathing. He's written millions of words over 43 years. Millions. If you stacked all the documents he's created, they would probably fill this entire building. What will happen to all those words, all those documents? They'll be stored, filed, eventually forgotten, maybe burned when space is needed for new documents, or they'll decay. Slowly, the papyrus turning brittle, the ink fading, the words disappearing. Nothing lasts forever, not really, but that's all right. The words served their purpose while they existed, helped people conduct their business, helped civilization function. That's enough. A client arrives, an elderly woman, Drusilla. Marcus knows her. She's been a client for years. Probably needs another will updated. She updates her will every few months, adding codicils, removing ungrateful relatives, adding grateful ones back. It's become almost a hobby for her. Marcus, she says, her voice sharp despite her age, I need to change my will again. That worthless grandson of mine has, of course, Drusilla, Marcus interrupts gently. He's heard this before. The grandson is fine. Drusilla just likes the drama, likes feeling like she has power over her family. The will is her weapon, her leverage, her way of staying relevant as her body fails. Titus takes her to the other room, sits her down, begins asking the questions. What changes does she want? Who's in favor this week? Who's out? Marcus returns to his work. The Cassius contract won't write itself. The hours pass, the rhythm of the day, the flow of work and clients, and the small interruptions that make up a profession. At mid-morning, Lucius appears, their son, 15 years old, tall for his age, gangly, still growing into his body, his hair sticking up in ways that no amount of oil can quite control. Father, he says, trying to sound adult, trying to sound serious. Mother sent me with your lunch. He holds out a cloth-wrapped bundle, bread, cheese, olives, probably some fruit. Claudia always worries Marcus doesn't eat enough, that he gets so absorbed in work he forgets. She's not wrong. Thank you, son. Will you stay? Keep me company. Lucius hesitates. He's at that age where spending time with parents is less appealing than spending time with friends. but he's also a good boy, dutiful, kind. He sits. They eat together, father and son, the comfortable silence of family, of people who don't need words to be together. How are your studies? Marcus asks. Lucius shrugs. Fine. Rhetoric is boring. Mathematics is confusing. History is all wars and dead kings. Marcus smiles. He remembers feeling the same way. Education always seems pointless when you're young, when the world is immediate and vivid and demanding attention. Only later do you realize that knowledge is freedom, that understanding is power. What would you rather study? He asks. Another shrug. I don't know. Maybe poetry or music, something beautiful. Marcus feels his chest tighten. Love, pride, fear. His son wants beauty in a world that often provides so little of it. That's good. That's precious. But it's also dangerous. Beauty doesn't pay bills, doesn't buy food, doesn't maintain a house. There's beauty in this work too, Marcus says, gesturing at the documents, the scrolls, the endless words. In keeping things ordered, in helping people solve their problems, in maintaining civilization. Lucius nods politely, the way children nod when they don't believe you but don't want to argue. They finish eating. Lucius stands, prepares to leave, goes to where his friends are probably waiting, where life is happening. Lucius, Marcus says, I love you. You know that, right? The boy looks embarrassed. Please. I know, Father. I love you too. He leaves, the door closing behind him, and Marcus sits there, looking at his documents, thinking about beauty and duty and different things different generations value. He's 43, not young anymore, not old yet, somewhere in the middle, the years where you start to understand that time is limited, that choices matter, that every day is precious whether you realize it or not. Afternoon. The hottest part of the day, the sun directly overhead, the city slows, people retreat indoors, rest, escape the heat. This is the Roman way. Work in the morning, rest in the afternoon, work again in the evening when it cools. Marcus has no clients scheduled. Titus has gone home for lunch. The office is quiet, peaceful. He should rest too, should close his eyes for an hour, sleep in the warm stillness, but he's not tired, not really, just pensive, thoughtful, in a mood that doesn't want rest, wants contemplation. He walks again, this time not through the residential streets, but through the commercial district, the shops and taverns and businesses that line the main streets. Most are closed now, shuttered against the afternoon heat, but some remain open. The Thermopolia, the fast food shops, for people who can't cook at home, for workers and poor people and travelers. Marcus stops at one he knows, run by a freedman named Quintus, former slave who bought his freedom and now owns 3 shops across the city. A success story, a man who pulled himself up through ambition and good food. Marcus, Quintus greets him, smiling. You want the usual? Please. Quintus ladles out a bowl of lentil stew, thick, rich, flavored with garum and herbs. He adds bread, good bread, still warm from this morning's baking. Marcus pays, sits at one of the stone counters, eats. The stew is excellent, simple but perfect. The kind of meal that satisfies without pretension. Other customers drift in, workers, sailors from the port, a few slaves running errands for their masters, everyone eating quickly, efficiently, fuel for the body, fuel for the afternoon. Marcus listens to the conversations around him, not eavesdropping exactly, just listening to the sound of life happening, of people talking about ordinary things, about prices and weather and family and gossip. A sailor complains about his captain, a mother worries about her daughter's cough. 2 old men argue about whether the wine from Campania is better than the wine from Sicily. The eternal debates, the timeless concerns. This is what he loves about cities, this density of life, this constant hum of human existence. In a rural area, you can go days without seeing another person. In a city, you're never alone, never isolated, always part of the great human mass, for better and worse. He finishes his stew, thanks Quintus, steps back into the afternoon heat. The streets are nearly empty now, just a few people moving from shade to shade, dogs sleeping in doorways, cats finding the coolest spots beneath cots. Marcus wanders, not toward home, not back to his office, just wandering. Through streets he's walked 1,000 times, past buildings he's seen every day for decades. But today they look different, sharper, more vivid, as if his eyes have been cleaned, as if he's seeing clearly for the first time in months, years. Why? What's changed? Nothing really, nothing external, just something internal, some shift in perception, some reminder that all of this, the buildings, the streets, the people, the life, it's all temporary, all fragile, all precious because it won't last forever. He pauses at a small temple dedicated to Mercury, god of merchants and travelers and thieves, the same god for all of them, because what's the difference really? Everyone is trying to move things from one place to another, whether legally or not. The temple is open, cool inside, dark. The smell of incense and stone and age. A priestess tends the altar, young, probably early 20s, her robes clean and white, her face serene. She looks at Marcus, nods, returns to her work. Marcus approaches the altar, places a small coin in the offering bowl, not because he needs anything, not because he expects divine favor, just because it feels right, because the gesture matters, even if the gods don't notice. He stands there in the cool darkness, in the silence, just breathing, just being. Are you all right? The priestess asks, concerned. People don't usually stand this long at altars. Usually they pray quickly, offer quickly, leave quickly. Time is precious. I'm fine, Marcus says, just taking a moment. She smiles, understanding. The gods give us these moments, these pauses. It's good to accept them. He nods, leaves the temple, steps back into the bright afternoon. A dog crosses the street, unhurried, confident, owning its space in the world. Marcus envies it for a moment. That simple existence, that freedom from thought and worry and time. But no, he doesn't really want that. Wants to be human, with all the complications it brings, with all the awareness, with all the beauty and suffering that comes from knowing that everything ends. He continues walking through the afternoon heat, through the sleeping city, through the life he's built and maintained and inhabited for 43 years. Eventually, he turns toward home, toward Claudia, toward dinner and evening, and the rituals that mark the end of day. The sun is beginning to descend, the heat starting to break, the city waking again from its afternoon slumber. Marcus walks slowly, savoring each step, each breath, each moment of this ordinary, precious, impossible day. Home, evening. The house smells of cooking. Claudia in the kitchen with their slave girl, preparing dinner, fish probably. He can smell garlic and olive oil and something herbal, rosemary maybe, or oregano. Lucius is in his room. Marcus can hear him talking, probably to friends who've come over, the high voices of 15-year-old boys, excited, animated, laughing at jokes that only make sense to them. Marcus washes the small bath at the back of the house, cold water, refreshing after the afternoon heat. He scrubs the day away, the dust, the sweat, the ink stains on his fingers that never quite come clean. Clean tunic, combed hair, presentable for dinner. Claudia appreciates the effort, appreciates that he doesn't just collapse at the table, that he makes himself neat for family meals. They eat in the triclinium, not the formal dining room with the couches, just the small everyday room, more comfortable, more intimate. Claudia has cooked wonderfully, as always. Grilled fish, vegetables in oil, bread, cheese, wine mixed with water, a good meal, a Roman meal, simple, fresh, honest. How was your day? She asks. The eternal question, the one she asks every evening, the one he asks her in return. Quiet, Marcus says. The Cassius contract is ready. Drusilla changed her will again. Lucius brought me lunch. He remembered? Claudia looked surprised, pleased. I had to remind him 3 times this morning. He remembered. They eat. The companionable silence of long marriage, of people who don't need to fill every moment with words. Lucius joins them, still that teenage energy, that inability to sit completely still. He eats quickly, hungrily. Growing boys are always hungry. Father, he says between bites, can I go to the theater tomorrow? There's a new comedy. Everyone is going. Marcus looks at Claudia. She shrugs. Your decision. Have you finished your studies for the week? Marcus asks. Yes. Probably a lie, or at least an exaggeration. Then yes, you can go. Lucius grins, that open, unguarded joy of youth, of getting what you want, of plans working out. Thank you, Father. Dinner continues. They talk about small things, Claudia's visit to the market, the price of olive oil going up, the neighbor's new baby keeping everyone awake at night, the ordinary concerns of ordinary people living ordinary lives. After dinner, Lucius disappears back to his room, to his friends, to whatever mysteries occupy teenage boys. Marcus and Claudia sit in the atrium, watching the last light fade from the sky, the impluvium reflecting the deepening blue, stars beginning to appear. Are you happy? Claudia asks suddenly. Marcus looks at her, surprised by the question. Yes, of course. Why? You've seemed, I don't know, thoughtful lately, more than usual. He considers. Is that true? Maybe. I'm just aware of time passing, of how good we have it, of how easily things could be different. She takes his hand. Hers are warm, familiar. He knows every line, every callus, every scar. 20 years of holding this hand. We're lucky, she says, to have each other, to have Lucius, to have this house, this life. You've built something good, Marcus, something solid. We've built it, he corrects, together. She smiles, leans her head on his shoulder. They sit like that, watching the stars emerge, watching the day end and night begin. Somewhere in the city, someone is laughing. Somewhere else, someone is crying. Somewhere, lovers are meeting. Somewhere, someone is dying. The endless cycle, the constant turning of life and death and everything between. But here, in this house, in this moment, there is peace. There is love. There is the quiet satisfaction of a day well lived. Marcus breathes, feels Claudia's warmth beside him, hears Lucius's muffled laughter from his room, smells the lingering scent of dinner, sees the stars. This, he thinks, this is enough. This is everything. Later in bed, Claudia sleeps beside him, her breathing soft and regular, the rhythm he's fallen asleep to for 20 years. Marcus lies awake a little longer, not troubled, not worried, just present, aware, grateful. Tomorrow he'll wake before dawn again. Tomorrow he'll walk through the city. Tomorrow he'll work and eat and laugh and live. Tomorrow will be another day, another gift, another chance to exist in this world. He doesn't know what the day after tomorrow holds. No one does. But tonight, that's all right. Tonight, not knowing feels like freedom rather than fear. He closes his eyes, feels sleep approaching, gentle, inevitable. The last thought before sleep takes him, I am happy, I am home, I am loved. And that, on this warm August night in the year 79 AD, is everything he needs. Morning comes again, as it always does. Marcus wakes in the grey light before dawn, the same ritual, the same rhythm his body has learned over decades. But something feels different today. Not wrong exactly, just different. The air has a quality he can't quite name. Heavier, maybe, or stiller, as if the world is holding its breath. He lies there a moment longer than usual, listening. Claudia breathes beside him. Lucius sleeps down the hall. The house settles with the small sounds houses make, wood expanding, stone cooling from yesterday's heat, the normal sounds. The familiar sounds. But outside is quieter than usual, no birds. He realizes that's what feels strange. Usually, the dawn birds are calling by now, the sparrows and starlings that nest in the city's eaves, the crows that patrol the streets looking for scraps. But this morning, silence. Marcus rises, dresses, steps into the atrium. The impluvium's water is still, perfectly still, like glass. No ripples, not even from the small fountain that usually feeds it. The fountain has stopped. When did that happen? Was it running yesterday? He can't remember. Another thing you stop noticing when you see it every day. He should check the water supply, see if there's a blockage, but not now. Morning walk first, routine first. Problems can wait. The street outside is empty. More empty than usual. Even the baker's shop is dark. That's strange. The baker is always up before Marcus, always has fresh bread by dawn, but today, darkness, shutters closed. Marcus walks anyway, up the Via dell'Abbondanza, past the shuttered shops and silent houses. His footsteps echo, loud in silence, too loud. He finds himself walking more quietly, trying not to disturb. What? The peace, the stillness, whatever this morning is. The forum is empty, completely empty. Usually there's someone, a priest, a slave running errands, a drunk sleeping off last night's wine. But today, nothing. Just Marcus and the white stone and the grey light. He climbs higher toward the upper streets, toward his viewpoint, toward where he can see the city and the bay and the world beyond. At the top of the street he stops, looks out over Pompeii. The city spreads below him, beautiful, silent, waiting. He turns, looks at Mount Vesuvius, and stops. The mountain is smoking, not the thin occasional bloom he's seen before. This is different, thicker, darker, rising in a column, straight up, impossibly straight, as if drawn with a ruler against the lightning sky. Marcus stares. He's never seen smoke like this, never seen it so dense, so dark, so purposeful. But it's just smoke. Mountains smoke sometimes. Everyone knows that. Vulcan's forges, the god working beneath the earth. Nothing to worry about. It'll stop soon. It always stops. Except something in his chest tightens, some animal instinct that precedes thought, that knows danger before the mind can name it. He watches the smoke rise, watches it climb, higher, higher, into the pink morning sky, a dark column against the light. A sound, distant, deep, like thunder but not thunder, like something enormous moving far beneath the earth. The sound vibrates through the stones beneath his feet, through his bones. Then it stops. Silence returns. The smoke continues to rise. Marcus waits. For what? He doesn't know. For the sound to come again, for something to happen, for understanding to arrive. Nothing happens, just the smoking mountain, just the silent city, just the grey light turning pink, turning gold as the sun prepares to rise. He's being foolish, letting his imagination run. It's just smoke, just the mountain doing what mountains do, nothing more. He turns, walks back down, toward his office, toward work, toward normalcy. But the unease follows him, a shadow he can't shake. The office feels wrong, too quiet, too empty. Titus hasn't arrived yet. That's unusual. He's always early, always punctual, one of his best qualities. Marcus lights the lamps, opens the shutters, arranges his documents. The cashier's contract still needs final review before the signing. He sits, begins to read, but the words don't stick. His mind keeps wandering to the smoke, to the silence, to the stopped fountain and the missing birds. Stop it, focus, work. This is what you do. This is who you are. A scribe, a professional, someone who doesn't let vague unease interfere with duty. He forces himself to read, to check every line, every detail, every number and name and clause. This is important. People are depending on this being correct. That matters more than smoke or silence or bad feelings. An hour passes, maybe two. The sun rises fully. Light streams through the windows. Warm, bright, normal. Titus arrives. Finally, he looks shaken, pale, his usual composure cracked. Master, he says, I'm sorry I'm late. The streets, everyone is talking about the mountain, about the smoke. Some people are leaving, packing their valuables, heading for the gates. Marcus sets down his stylus. Leaving? Why? They're scared. They say the mountain is angry, that the gods are displeased, that something terrible is coming. That's superstition. The mountain has smoked before. It always stops. Not like this. They say it's never been this thick, this dark, and there are tremors, small ones. People are feeling them in their homes, dishes rattling, walls cracking. Marcus hasn't felt tremors, but then he's been distracted, focused on work. Maybe he missed them, or maybe people are imagining things. Fear does that, makes you feel things that aren't there. We have work to do, Marcus says firmly. The Cassius contract needs to be ready by midday. Are you able to focus? Titus nods, unconvincingly, but he sits, opens his writing materials, begins to work. They work in silence. The scratch of stylus on papyrus, the familiar sound, the comforting sound. Everything is fine. Everything is normal. Just work. Just duty. Just another day. But the unease grows, creeps up Marcus's spine, settles in his chest, heavy, persistent, unreasonable but undeniable. He stands. I'm going to check on my family, just for a moment. Hold everything until I return. Titus nods, relieved maybe, to not be alone in the office, in the silence. Marcus walks quickly. Home isn't far, just a few streets, but every street feels longer today. Every building seems to lean, every shadow seems darker. He's being irrational. He knows this, but knowing doesn't help. Home. He pushes through the door. Claudia, Lucius. Claudia emerges from the kitchen, her face tight with worry. Marcus, thank the gods. Have you seen the mountain? I've seen it. It's just smoke. It'll pass. People are leaving. Our neighbors, the Cornelia family, they're packing their cart right now. They're going to their farm in the countryside. They said we should leave too, that it's not safe. Claudia, he takes her hands. This is our home. These are our neighbors panicking. The mountain has smoked before, remember? 3 years ago and 10 years before that. It always stops. This feels different. I know, but feelings aren't facts. We have lives here, responsibilities. I have contracts to finalize. You have the household to run. Lucius has his studies. We can't just abandon everything because of smoke. She wants to believe him. He can see it. She wants the reassurance, the certainty, the strong husband who knows what to do. But does he know? He's not sure. Not really. He's just hoping, assuming, trusting that patterns repeat, that the past predicts the future, that the world makes sense. Where's Lucius, he asks. Still sleeping? You know how he is. Marcus goes to his son's room, pushes aside the curtain. Lucius is sprawled across his bed, one arm hanging off the side, mouth open, deep asleep. The sleep of youth, of someone who doesn't yet know that safety is an illusion. Marcus stands there, looking at his son, his boy. Not a boy anymore, really. Almost a man, 15, old enough to marry, to work, to make his own way in the world, but still young enough to sleep without worry, without fear, without the weight of decision. Should they leave? Pack what they can carry and head for the countryside? Join the flow of nervous families abandoning the city? But to where? They have no farm, no country villa, no relatives in distant towns. They are Pompeii people, city people. This is their whole world. Their entire life is contained within these walls. And what if they leave and nothing happens? What if the smoke stops and they've abandoned their home, their work, their life for nothing? They'll look like fools, cowards. The neighbors will talk. The clients will lose confidence. Everything he has built over decades could crumble. No, better to stay, to be calm, to be the steady one while others panic. He returns to the kitchen, kisses Claudia's forehead. Everything will be fine. I need to get back to work. Cassius is coming at midday. Stay home today. Keep Lucius here, just to be safe. I'll come back early. We'll have dinner together as a family. Promise. I promise. He leaves, walks back to his office. The streets are busier now. People moving, some leaving, carts loaded with belongings, children crying, parents looking grim and determined. Others staying, going about their business, opening shops, conducting transactions, the eternal split between those who flee and those who hold. Marcus chooses to hold, because what else can he do? Midday approaches, the heat builds, but it feels different today, oppressive. thick, as if the air itself has weight, has substance. The smoke column has grown thicker, darker. It dominates the sky now, impossible to ignore. Even from inside the office, Marcus can see it through the window, a dark tower rising into heaven or hell, depending on your perspective. Cassius arrives exactly on time. He's a punctual man, a merchant, successful, practical, not given to superstition or panic. But he looks worried. Marcus, he says, should we proceed, given everything? The contract is ready, you're ready, the buyer is ready. Why delay? The mountain is smoking, as mountains sometimes do. Your vineyard isn't going anywhere, neither is the buyer's gold. Let's finalize this. Then you can do whatever you think is prudent. Cassius hesitates, then nods, sits. They go through the contract line by line. Marcus reads aloud. Cassius confirms. Everything is in order. Everything is correct. They sign, both of them. Witnesses brought in from the street. 2 signatures each. Official, binding, legal. Congratulations, Marcus says. The property is sold. Cassius looks at the document, at the words that transfer ownership, at the end of something and the beginning of something else. Thank you, Marcus. You've always been fair, always professional. If things get bad, if we need to leave, come with us. My farm is north, inland, away from the mountain. You and your family, you'd be welcome. Marcus is touched, surprised. He didn't expect this. Thank you. That's very generous, but I think we'll be fine. The offer stands, whatever happens. They shake hands, Roman style, forearm to forearm, the grip of equals, of men who've done business together, who've maintained honor in transactions, who've been part of civilization's great project of people dealing fairly with each other. Cassius leaves, taking his copy of the contract, probably heading straight for his farm, probably not looking back. Marcus files his copy, adds it to the shelves. Another document, another transaction, another small piece of the vast machinery that keeps society functioning. Titus is pale, shaking slightly. Master, I think I should go home. Check on my family. Is that all right? Marcus wants to say no, wants to maintain normalcy, wants to pretend everything is fine by acting like everything is fine. But he can't. Titus is 23, has a young wife, a baby daughter. They need him more than Marcus does. Go, Marcus says. Take care of your family. Come back tomorrow if he pauses. If what? If the world still exists, if the smoke stops, if whatever this is passes, if you can. Titus leaves, gratefully, quickly, almost running. Marcus is alone in the office, alone with thousands of documents, with the accumulated records of hundreds of lives, all the contracts and wills and agreements and disputes that have passed through this space, all the careful words that bind people to each other, to the future, to the assumption that tomorrow will come and will need these documents. He sits. The silence is profound, complete. Even the street outside has gone quiet. Everyone either fled or hiding in their homes, waiting for what? For the smoke to stop, for the gods to relent, for morning to come and prove this was all an overreaction. Marcus should go home, should be with Claudia and Lucius, should gather them close and wait together, whatever comes. But he stays for a few more minutes, looking at his life's work, at the shelves of documents, at the desk worn smooth by decades of writing, at the office that has been his second home, his purpose, his identity. What is a scribe without documents to scribe? What is a keeper of records when the records no longer matter? These thoughts are too large, too heavy. He pushes them away. Time to go home. Time to be with family. Time to stop pretending. Work matters more than love. He stands, walks to the door, pauses, looks back one more time at the office, at his desk, at the shelves. Goodbye, he thinks, though he doesn't know why he thinks it. He steps into the street, closes the door, doesn't lock it. Locks seem pointless right now. The walk home feels eternal. The smoke column has grown even larger, even darker. It blocks half the sky now. The sun, still high, seems dimmer, filtered through ash, through something between earth and heaven. People huddle in doorways, whispering, praying, some crying, others just staring at the sky, at the mountain, at the impossible thing happening before their eyes. Marcus walks faster. Home. Need to get home. Need to be with family. Need to stop being a scribe and start being a husband, a father, a human. He turns the corner onto his street, the street he's walked 10,000 times, the street where his house stands, where his life is, and stops. His house is still there, solid, white stone, red tile roof, exactly as it should be. But the fountain has stopped completely. Water that should be flowing sits stagnant, and the air smells wrong, like stone and metal, like something ancient and terrible waking from sleep. He pushes open the door. Claudia, Lucius. They come running, both of them, relief flooding their faces. They've been worried, waiting, hoping he'd come home. They embrace, all three of them, arms wrapped around each other, holding tight, as if they can keep each other safe through sheer force of love. What's happening? Lucius asks, his voice small, scared, young. Father, what's happening? I don't know, son. I don't know. It's the truth. The first completely honest thing he's said all day. He doesn't know, doesn't understand, can only feel that something is wrong, something is changing, something is ending. Should we leave? Claudia asks. It's not too late. We can still pack, still go. Marcus looks at his wife, his son, his home, everything he's built, everything he loves. Should they leave? Would they be safer elsewhere? Or is this their fate, to stay in the city they love, in the home they made together? He doesn't know, can't know, can only decide. We stay, he says, together. Whatever comes, we face it here, at home. It might be the wrong decision, probably is, but it's his decision, theirs, made from love rather than fear, from belonging rather than fleeing. They hold each other in their house, in their city, under the darkening sky, and wait. Afternoon passes into evening, but you can't really tell. The smoke is so thick now that the sun has vanished, blocked completely. The city exists in a strange twilight, neither day nor night, just gray, just dim, just wrong. The tremors have gotten worse, stronger, more frequent. The house shakes every few minutes. Objects fall from shelves, plaster cracks. The world itself seems unstable, unreliable. They sit together in the atrium, Marcus, Claudia, Lucius, holding hands, not speaking much. What is there to say? Words feel inadequate, useless against whatever this is. The household gods watch from their shrine, their bronze faces still serene, still indifferent. If they know what's coming, they're not telling. Tell me a story, Lucius says suddenly, like when I was little. Tell me a story, father. Marcus looks at his son, sees the child beneath the almost man, the little boy who used to climb into his lap and beg for stories about heroes and gods and adventures. What kind of story? A happy one, please. So Marcus tells him about Orpheus, about the musician who loved so deeply he descended into the underworld for his wife, about how his music charmed even death, about the impossible journey, the impossible love. He doesn't tell the ending, doesn't mention the looking back, the loss, the grief, just tells the middle part, the hopeful part, the part where love seems like it might actually conquer everything. Claudia cries silently as he speaks, whether from fear or love or the beauty of the story. Marcus doesn't know. Maybe all three. Maybe they're the same thing. When he finishes, Lucius leans his head on his father's shoulder. Thank you. They sit like that as the strange twilight deepens, as the tremors continue, as their city, their world, their life waits for whatever comes next. Marcus thinks about his life. 43 years, not particularly remarkable, not particularly heroic, just a life, work and love and duty and the small moments that make up a human existence. He has written millions of words, kept thousands of records, helped hundreds of people solve their problems, maintained order in a small corner of the world, been a husband, a father, a citizen, a human. Is that enough? Has his life mattered? He looks at Claudia, at Lucius, at the house he bought with 15 years of careful saving, at the life he built from nothing but effort and honor and showing up every day to do the work. Yes, it's been enough, more than enough. This is what most lives are, not grand adventures, not great deeds, just showing up, loving the people in front of you, doing your work with care, building something small but real. I love you both, he says, more than anything, more than life. You need to know that. We know, Claudia says. We've always known. I love you too, Father, Lucius adds. You're the best father anyone could have. Marcus feels tears on his cheeks. When did he start crying? He doesn't remember, doesn't care. They hold each other in the gray twilight, in the shaking house, in the moment before everything changes. And in that moment, Marcus feels something unexpected. Not fear, not grief, but peace, completion. The sense that his story, however it ends, has been told rightly, that he's loved and been loved, that he's mattered to the people who matter most. Whatever comes next, he's ready, not eager, not willing, but ready, because he's had this life, this love, this day, and sometimes one perfect day is enough. Sometimes it has to be. Night falls, or what passes for night in the gray twilight, darker but not dark. The smoke blocks the stars, blocks the moon, blocks everything beyond the immediate world. The tremors are constant now. The house groans, creaks, holds but barely. Objects fall continuously, the sound of breaking pottery, of splintering wood, of civilization coming apart. They move to the tablinum, the small office at the back of the house, stone walls, sturdy, the safest place. They huddle together on cushions on the floor, arms wrapped around each other. Try to sleep, Marcus says, both of you. Whatever comes, we'll need our strength. Claudia closes her eyes, tries, but she can't. Too afraid, too aware. Lucius amazingly does sleep, exhausted by fear, his young body demanding rest despite everything, his head in his mother's lap, his hand holding his father's, asleep, safe. For now. Marcus and Claudia sit in silence, listening to their son breathe, listening to the house shake, listening to the world ending or not ending. It's hard to tell which. I'm sorry, Marcus whispers. For what? For not leaving when we had the chance, for making us stay. You didn't make us do anything. We chose together. This is our home. If it ends here, then at least we're together. I don't want it to end. I know, neither do I. But if it does, she squeezes his hand. We had a good life, Marcus. A good marriage, a beautiful son, a home, love, real love. How many people can say that? Not enough. No, not enough. They sit. Time passes. Impossible to measure. The tremors blend together. The sounds of the city, screams, crashes, prayers, fade into a continuous background noise. The sound of disaster, the sound of everything falling apart. Marcus thinks about his office, about the thousands of documents, the wills and contracts and careful records. What will happen to them? Will they burn? Will they be buried? Will anyone ever read them again? Probably not. They'll be lost, forgotten, as if they never existed, as if all those transactions, all those lives, all that careful record-keeping meant nothing. But it did mean something while it existed. It helped people, helped civilization function. That matters, even if it doesn't last, especially because it doesn't last. The temporary is no less meaningful than the eternal, sometimes more so. He thinks about the documents he wrote yesterday, the Cassius contract, his careful handwriting, his professional pride, the satisfaction of work done well. That was real, that mattered, even if no one ever sees it again, even if it's buried or burned or lost. It existed, it served a purpose, that's enough. Everything serves its purpose and then ends. Documents, lives, cities, civilizations. The cycle turns, always turning. Nothing lasts forever, but that doesn't make the moment any less precious. Marcus, Claudia's voice, soft, scared. I'm here. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that if something happens, if we're separated somehow, that you'll know I loved you always, from the moment we met until the end. Whatever that is, I promise. And you promised me the same, that you know, that you've always known, that every day with you has been a gift, that you've made my life more than I ever imagined it could be. I promise. They hold each other, Lucius sleeping between them, their son, their boy, their future, whatever that means now. The house shakes harder. Something falls in another room. The crash enormous, final, part of the roof maybe, or a wall, the structure failing. giving up, surrendering to forces too large to resist. I'm scared, Claudia whispers. So am I. But I'm glad we're together. Me too. They stay like that, holding each other, holding their son, holding on to the last moments of life as they know it. And in the grey darkness, in the shaking house, in the final hours of Pompeii, Marcus Aurelius Servius, scribe, husband, father, thinks one last clear thought. I am grateful for all of it, for the ordinary days and the final day, for the love and the fear and everything in between, for the life I got to live, for the people I got to love, for the words I got to write. For this day, this perfect, terrible, precious day, for all of it, thank you. Sometime in the deepest part of night, the tremors stop. Complete stillness, sudden, absolute. After hours of constant shaking, the silence feels wrong, more frightening than the noise. Marcus lifts his head, listens. Nothing, just the sound of his own breathing, Claudia's breathing, Lucius still sleeping somehow, the resilience of youth. Is it over? Claudia whispers, afraid to speak louder, afraid to break whatever spell has brought this quiet. I don't know. They wait. Minutes pass. 5, 10, 20. The house doesn't shake. Nothing falls. Just stillness. Just peace. Just the absence of disaster. Maybe it is over. Maybe the mountain has spent its anger. Maybe the gods have been satisfied. Maybe life can return to normal, whatever normal means now. I need to check outside, Marcus says. See what's happened, what state the city is in. Don't go, please. Stay here, stay with us. I'll be quick, just to the door, just to look. He stands, his legs shaky. He has been sitting for hours, muscles stiff, body protesting. He's not young anymore, 43, old enough to feel every hour of stress in his bones. He makes his way through the darkened house, carefully. Objects litter the floor, broken pottery, fallen furniture, the household shrines toppled, the gods themselves thrown down, scattered across the floor like toys. He reaches the door, opens it, steps into the street. The world is gray, everything covered in a layer of fine ash, white-gray dust coating the stones, the buildings. The air itself seems thick with it, Each breath brings powder into his lungs, makes him cough. The street is empty, silent, a few other doors opening, other people emerging, looking around, assessing, everyone's face showing the same expression: confusion, relief, uncertainty. It stopped, someone says, an old man from the house across the street. The shaking, it's finally stopped. Yes, Marcus agrees. For now. Think it's safe? Think we can leave? I don't know. Maybe, if you have somewhere to go. The old man nods, retreats into his house to gather a family, to make decisions, to do whatever feels right in this impossible situation. Marcus looks up. The sky is invisible, hidden behind clouds, but not normal clouds. These are thick, dense, dark gray. They hang low, too low, as if the sky has descended, as if heaven has fallen toward earth. And the smell, sulfur, stone, something ancient and mineral, like the inside of caves, like the breath of the earth itself. The mountain, he needs to see the mountain, needs to understand what's happening. He walks toward the end of the street, toward where he can see beyond the buildings, toward a view. Others join him, silent figures emerging from houses, all moving toward the same instinct, to see, to understand, to witness. They reach an open square, look toward Vesuvius, and freeze. The mountain is different. The peak is gone. Where once there was a summit, now there's nothing, just a flat top, a missing piece, as if some god reached down and removed the mountain's head. And from that wound pours smoke, darker than before, thicker, a column rising straight up, miles high, so high it disappears into the low clouds, into the gray ceiling that's descended over the world. But it's not just smoke. Marcus squints, studies it. No, there's something else. Things falling from the column, small things, thousands of them, millions, and drifting down like snow, like rain, like something between solid and air. Pumice, he realizes, volcanic rock, so light it floats, but still rock, still stone, falling from the sky like judgment. As he watches, a piece lands near his feet, small, irregular, porous, still warm. He picks it up. It weighs almost nothing, like holding solidified air. More fall. All around them, a gentle rain of stone, light enough that it doesn't hurt, doesn't seem dangerous, just surreal, wrong, impossible. We need to leave, someone says. Now, while we can, before it gets worse. It won't get worse, another argues. The worst is over. This is just aftermath. Clean up. It'll settle and stop. No one knows. Everyone guesses. Everyone hopes their guess is right. Marcus turns, walks back home, the pumice crunching under his feet now, already accumulating, a thin layer covering the ash-covered streets, the world being buried slowly, gently, in pieces too small to notice until suddenly there are too many to ignore. Claudia is at the door, waiting, worried. Relief floods her face when she sees him. What's happening? The mountain, it's erupting, throwing rock into the sky. It's falling everywhere, small pieces, not dangerous yet. But what? But I don't know if it will stop. I don't know anything anymore. They stand together in the doorway, watching the pumice fall, watching their street, their city, their world being covered, transformed, made strange. Lucius wakes, joins them. His eyes go wide when he sees the falling stones. Father, what? Volcanic rock. From the mountain, it's very light. It won't hurt you, but we should probably go inside. Close the shutters. Wait. Wait for what? For it to stop. Or Marcus doesn't finish. Or for whatever comes next. Or for rescue. Or for the end. He doesn't know what they're waiting for. Just that waiting inside seems better than standing exposed. They retreat. Close the door. Close the shutters. Seal the house as best they can. But pumice is small. Pumice finds gaps. It drifts in through every crack, every space, every imperfection in the walls and roof and windows. Within an hour, a fine layer covers everything inside, the furniture, the floor, their hair and clothes. Breathing becomes difficult. Each breath brings dust, brings stone, brings the mountain into their lungs. We should cover our faces, Claudia says. She tears cloth into strips, ties them across their mouths and noses. Improvised masks, they help. A little, but not enough. The pumice keeps falling. The sound is constant now, a soft patter, like rain, but wrong, heavy, accumulating. Marcus goes to the atrium. The impluvium is filling with pumice, the water invisible beneath floating stones, the courtyard floor already covered, several inches deep, growing deeper. He checks the roof, goes up the stairs, opens the door to the flat roof where they sometimes eat on cool evenings, where they watch the stars, where life was beautiful. The roof is covered, 6 inches of pumice, maybe more, still falling, still accumulating, and it's heavy, not individually, but collectively. Thousands of small pieces becoming tons of weight. The roof beams are creaking, straining. Roman construction is good, solid, but it's not built for this, not designed to hold tons of volcanic rock. We need to clear it, Marcus shouts down, before the weight collapses the roof. Claudia and Lucius join him. They use their hands, use broken pottery, use anything they can find, scooping the pumice, throwing it over the edge, into the street below. where it adds to the accumulation already waist-deep in places. But for every handful they remove, 10 more land. It's futile, pointless, like trying to empty the ocean with a cup. Still, they try, because what else can they do? Sit and wait for the roof to collapse? At least this is action. At least this is trying. Hours pass. They work in shifts. 2 scooping, 1 resting, rotating, their arms aching, their backs screaming, their lungs burning from the dust-choked air. The sky grows lighter, not brighter, just less dark. Dawn coming. Though you can't see the sun, can't see anything but the grey ceiling and the falling stones and the impossible transformation of their world. Lucius is crying as he works, silent tears streaming down his ash-covered face. 15 years old, too young for this, too young to watch his world end. Too young to know that safety is an illusion and that everything you love can be taken in a single day. Marcus wants to comfort him, to tell him it will be okay, to be the father who fixes things, who makes everything right. But he can't lie, not now, not about this. So he just works beside his son, sharing the burden, sharing the fear, sharing the reality that sometimes there is no fix. Sometimes you just endure. Midday, probably. Time has become meaningless. The grey light neither darkens nor brightens, just continues. Eternal twilight, eternal falling stones, eternal exhaustion. They've abandoned the roof. The pumice is too deep, 3 feet, 4 feet, still accumulating. The roof beams are groaning constantly now, wood protesting, structure failing. They huddle in the tablinum again, the strongest room, stone walls on 3 sides, stone ceiling. If the roof collapses, maybe this room will hold. Maybe they'll be protected. Maybe they'll survive. Maybe. Claudia is praying quiet words to gods who seem not to be listening, to Jupiter, to Vulcan, to anyone who might care, who might intervene, who might show mercy. Marcus doesn't pray. He's never been religious, has performed the rituals out of social obligation, out of tradition, but he's never truly believed, never truly felt the presence of divine attention. He believes even less now. What God would allow this? What divine plan includes the destruction of an entire city, of thousands of innocent people, of children and elderly and everyone between? If gods exist, they're either powerless or cruel. Either way, prayer seems pointless. But he doesn't stop Claudia. If it brings her comfort, if it helps her face what's coming, then it's valuable, even if the words go nowhere, even if no one hears. Lucius has stopped crying, has moved past fear into something else. Numbness, maybe, acceptance. He sits with his head on his mother's shoulder, eyes open but not seeing, gone somewhere inside himself where this isn't happening. Marcus envies him, wishes he could retreat too, but someone needs to stay present. Someone needs to watch, to assess, to decide if action becomes necessary. Though what action? Where would they go? The streets are buried, the gates probably blocked, the entire city being entombed. There is no escape. There is only waiting, hoping, enduring. A sound different from the constant patter of falling pumice, louder, sharper, the crack of wood breaking, the roof, part of it giving way, collapsing under the weight. The sound echoes through the house, followed by a crash, followed by more sounds, more breaking, more failing. Dust billows through the house, more than dust, debris, broken tiles, shattered wood, the pumice that was on the roof now inside, pouring through the collapsed section, filling the atrium, the bedrooms, the kitchen. The house is dying, being crushed, being filled, being transformed from shelter into tomb. We need to move, Marcus says, now, before this room goes to... Move where? Claudia asks, helpless and lost. The street outside, away from structures. It's dangerous, but staying here is more dangerous. They gather what they can, cloth for their faces, a water skin, some bread from the kitchen if they can reach it. Nothing else matters. Gold and silver and all their possessions, worthless now. You can't eat gold, can't breathe silver. They push open the door. The pumice has piled against it, nearly to the threshold. The street is unrecognizable. What were roads are now valleys between growing mountains of stone. What were buildings are being buried, consumed, erased. They step out into the gray world, into the falling stones, into the transformation of everything they know. The pumice is knee-deep, difficult to walk through, like walking through heavy sand, each step an effort, each movement exhausting. Other people in the streets, not many, just a few, those who also abandoned their homes, those also seeking what? Safety? There is no safety, just different ways to die, different places to wait for the end. They head toward the forum, the open space, away from buildings that might collapse, toward the center of the city, toward where other people might be gathering, toward the human instinct to cluster together in disaster, to face the end together rather than alone. The forum is unrecognizable, the pumice several feet deep, the statues buried to their waists, the temples half submerged, the world being transformed, being unmade, being returned to stone. A few dozen people huddle in the open, families, individuals, everyone covered in ash and dust, everyone looking like ghosts, like the dead already, waiting for the official confirmation. Marcus, Claudia, and Lucius join them. Find a space, sit in the pumice. It's still falling, will probably never stop, will probably continue until everything is buried, until Pompeii becomes memory, becomes myth, becomes nothing. They sit close together, holding each other, finding warmth, finding comfort, finding whatever can be found in the moments that remain. An elderly woman nearby is singing, soft, wavering, a lullaby maybe, or a hymn. It's hard to tell. The words don't matter, just the sound of a human voice, refusing to be silent, refusing to let the end come in silence. Others join her, humming, singing, creating sound in the gray world, creating humanity in the face of annihilation, creating meaning where meaning seems impossible. Marcus closes his eyes, listens, feels Claudia's warmth, feels Lucius breathing, feels the pumice falling on his head, on his shoulders, burying them slowly, gently, making them part of the mountain. And he thinks, this is how it ends, not with glory, not with heroism, not with any of the things poets sing about, just this, sitting together, holding the ones you love, waiting for the world to finish whatever it started. This is death. This is life. This is the human condition, temporary, fragile, precious because it ends. He's grateful, despite everything, despite the fear and pain and loss. He's grateful for the life he had, for the love he found, for the 43 years of ordinary days, for this extraordinary final day. For all of it, time passes, impossible to measure. The gray light never changes. The falling stones never stop. The world continues its slow burial, its patient transformation, its return to silence. The singing has stopped. The people around them sit in silence now, conserving strength, conserving breath, conserving whatever reserves of life remain. The pumice is waist deep now, still rising. Some of the people are standing, trying to stay above it, but standing is exhausting and there's nowhere to go. No higher ground, no escape, just different ways to wait. Marcus's mind wanders, drifts, floats between memory and present, between what was and what is, between life as he knew it and whatever comes after. He remembers his first contract, 20 years old, newly trained, nervous. The merchant who hired him was patient, kind, helped him through the nervousness, praised his neat handwriting, paid him fairly, gave him confidence. He remembers meeting Claudia, 23 and 20, a festival, wine and music and laughter, her smile, her intelligence, the way she listened, really listened, not just waiting for her turn to speak, but actually hearing, actually understanding. He remembers their wedding, Small, simple, just family and close friends, the promises they made to honor each other, to support each other, to build a life together, promises they've kept right to the end. He remembers Lucius being born, the terror, the relief, the overwhelming love, holding this tiny human, this piece of himself and Claudia, this miracle, this responsibility, this joy. He remembers buying the house, walking through it with Claudia, imagining their life in these rooms, planning, dreaming, hoping, the house becoming home through years of living, of laughter and arguments and meals and sleep, of life being lived. He remembers yesterday, walking through the city at dawn, the beauty of familiar streets, the peace of routine, the satisfaction of work done well, the love of family dinner, the gratitude he felt. Yesterday, which was a lifetime ago, which was forever, which will be the last normal day he ever knows. All of it, every memory, every moment, every day of 43 years. It all led here, to sitting in a buried forum, holding his family, waiting for the end. Was it worth it? All the struggle and work and worry, all the ordinary days and ordinary concerns, all the effort to build something that can be destroyed in a single day? Yes, absolutely yes, because it was his, because he lived it, because he loved, because he was loved, because for 43 years he existed, he mattered, he was. That's enough. That has to be enough, because it's all anyone gets, time, and what you do with it, and who you spend it with. He spent it well, with people he loves, doing work that mattered, building something small but real, living, actually living. He has no regrets, wishes things were different, yes, wishes they had more time, wishes his son could grow old, wishes for 1,000 wishes, but regrets? No, none. He's lived fully, honestly, lovingly. That's the best anyone can do. That's the only thing anyone can do. Marcus, Claudia's voice, weak, tired. I'm here. I'm scared. I know, me too. But I'm glad. I'm glad it's with you. I'm glad we're together. Me too. I love you. I've always loved you, from the first moment to this last moment. Always. I love you too. Lucius stirs between them. I love you both, he whispers. Thank you for everything, for being my parents, for giving me a good life, for loving me. Marcus can't speak, can't find words. Emotion choking him, he just holds tighter, holds his family, holds this moment, holds love in the face of ending. The pumice is chest deep now, rising, relentless, inevitable. Some of the people around them have stopped moving, stopped responding, gone already, taken by exhaustion or suffocation or simply the will to not continue. Marcus feels the heaviness in his own chest, the difficulty breathing, the exhaustion pulling him down, down into the stone, down into sleep, down into whatever comes after. He's not afraid anymore. Fear requires energy, requires future, requires the belief that outcomes matter. He's beyond all that now, just present, just being, just holding the ones he loves for as long as he can. Look, Lucius says suddenly, his voice weak but urgent. Father, mother, look. They look up, follow his gaze, through the gray, through the falling stones, through the impossible sky. There, for just a moment, a gap in the clouds, a break in the gray, and through it, light, actual sunlight, golden, warm, beautiful, streaming down like a blessing, like a reminder, like the world saying beauty still exists, even here, even now, even at the end. The light touches them, illuminates their ash-covered faces, makes them glow, makes them appear transfigured, made of something more than flesh, more than fear, made of something eternal, something that can't be destroyed by stone or time or ending, made of love, of connection, of having mattered to each other, of having been seen and known and cherished. The light lasts only a moment, then the clouds close, the gray returns, the falling stones continue, but the moment was real, the light was real, the beauty was real, and that's enough. That's everything. That's the answer to every question. That's the meaning buried under all the words and worry and wondering. Beauty exists, love exists, meaning exists, not because it lasts, because it doesn't last, because it's temporary and fragile and impossible, because it can be taken away, because it will be taken away. That makes it more precious, not less. The temporary is the only thing that matters. The eternal is just time. But the temporary is life, is love, is now. Marcus closes his eyes, holds his family, feels the pumice rising, feels his breath becoming difficult, feels life slipping away like water through fingers. And his last conscious thought is not fear or pain or regret. It's gratitude. Simple, pure, complete. Thank you for this life, for this love, for this day, for all the days, for the ordinary and the extraordinary, for the beginning and the middle and the end. Thank you for everything, for this. The pumice continues to fall through the gray afternoon, through the gray evening, through the gray night that is indistinguishable from day, hours, days. Time becomes meaningless, becomes just accumulation, just burial, just the slow erasure of a city, of lives, of everything. When it finally stops, Pompeii is gone. buried under 20 feet of pumice and ash, under tons of volcanic material, under the mountain's gift, under ending. The forum is a flat plain. The buildings are hidden, the streets are erased. Everything is covered, everything is entombed, everything is preserved, frozen in a single moment, the moment of ending, the moment that will last forever. In that forum, under that stone, 3 figures sit together, father, mother, son, arms wrapped around each other, holding tight, holding forever, holding love in the face of annihilation. They stay together to the end, to the very end, and in that there is victory, not survival, something better, connection, love, meaning. They are buried, they are gone, and they are forgotten, but they were here, they lived, they loved, they mattered, and that in the end is everything. That is the only thing. That is enough. Marcus Aurelius Servius, scribe, husband, father, human. He lived well. He loved deeply. He did his work with care. He built something small but real. And on his last day, the day before everything ended, he was grateful. He was present. He was aware. He was alive. That's all anyone can ask, all anyone can do, all anyone can be. Alive, present, loving, here, until we're not. And then we become memory, become story, become part of the great human tapestry of people who lived and died and mattered. Marcus is gone, but his story remains, his life remains, his love remains, buried but not lost, ended but not meaningless, gone but not forgotten. He was here, they were here, they lived, they loved, they were. And that is enough. That is everything. That is the story. silence. Complete, profound, eternal silence. The gray world has stopped moving, the pumice has stopped falling, the mountain has spent its fury, has emptied itself, has said what it needed to say in the only language mountains know. Stone, ash, ending. Pompeii sleeps beneath 20 feet of volcanic material, buried, sealed, preserved, a city frozen in a single moment, the moment of ending, the moment that will last forever. The survivors, those who fled early, those who ran when others hesitated, those who chose differently than Marcus, they stand at a distance, on hillsides, in neighboring towns, looking back at where their city used to be, looking at the gray plain that has replaced everything they knew. Some cry, some pray, some just stare, trying to comprehend, trying to understand how a city can simply disappear, how thousands of people can be erased in a single day, how life can end so completely, so finally, so absolutely. They will carry stories, stories of Pompeii, of the day the mountain woke, of the people who stayed and the people who fled, of the choices made in that gray dawn, of who survived and who didn't, of why some lived and others died. But they won't have all the stories. They won't know about Marcus, about his last walk through the city at dawn, about the Cassius contract, about dinner with his family, about the decision to stay, about the forum, about the light breaking through the clouds, about 3 people holding each other as the world buried them. Those stories are sealed now, trapped beneath stone, waiting for someone to find them, to excavate them, to remember. But that won't happen for a long time, a very long time. Years pass, decades, centuries. The site of Pompeii becomes a mystery. Local farmers know something is there, beneath their fields, beneath their vineyards. Sometimes they find things, coins, pottery shards, pieces of buildings, evidence of something old, something lost. But they don't excavate, don't investigate, just farm around the mysteries, plant their crops, harvest their grapes, live their lives on top of the dead city, on top of the buried stories, on top of Marcus and thousands like him. The world moves on, as it always does, as it must. Rome falls, empires rise and crumble, languages change, religions transform. The world Marcus knew becomes ancient history, then becomes legend, then becomes nearly forgotten. But beneath the vineyards, beneath the fields, beneath the accumulated dust of 17 centuries, Pompeii waits, preserved, perfect, frozen, a moment in time captured, a story paused mid-sentence, a life stopped mid-breath. Marcus waits, Claudia waits, Lucius waits, their house waits, their street waits, their city waits, all of it sealed, all of it protected by the very thing that destroyed it. The volcanic material that buried them also preserved them, kept them safe from decay, from time, from the usual erosion that erases history. They wait, patient, silent, perfect, for someone to remember, for someone to dig, for someone to care about the stories buried beneath. 1748 AD, nearly 1700 years after the eruption, after the ending, after burial. A Spanish engineer named Roque Joaquin de Alcubierre begins excavating. He's looking for treasure, for gold and silver and precious things to fill the royal collection. He doesn't care about stories, doesn't care about ordinary lives, just wants valuable objects, pretty things, proof of ancient wealth. But what he finds is better than treasure. What he finds is a city, an entire city, perfectly preserved, streets and houses and shops, furniture and dishes and tools, art and graffiti and everyday objects, the material culture of ordinary Roman life. What he finds is Pompeii, still there, still waiting, still telling its story to anyone willing to listen. The excavation begins slowly, haphazardly, clumsily. Early archaeologists don't understand what they have, don't realize the importance. They dig for objects, for valuable things to extract. They damage more than they preserve, destroy more than they document. But gradually, gradually, understanding comes. This isn't just a buried city. This is a time capsule, a frozen moment, a window into the past more perfect than anything else in the ancient world. This is history, real history, human history, the story of how people actually lived. The excavation becomes more careful, more systematic, more scientific. They start documenting, recording, preserving, treating the site with the reverence it deserves, the reverence that Marcus and all the others deserve. They find bodies, or rather, voids where bodies used to be, the soft tissue decomposed over centuries, but the volcanic material hardened around them, creating perfect molds, perfect negatives of the people who died there. An archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli has an idea. In 1863, he develops a technique, pouring plaster into the voids, filling the empty spaces, creating casts of the people who died, capturing them exactly as they were in their final moments. And suddenly, the dead can be seen again, can be witnessed, can be remembered, not as abstract statistics, not as numbers in history books, but as real people, real humans, with faces and expressions and positions that tell stories, that convey humanity, that remind us that these were lives, actual lives. They find families huddled together, children held by parents, Groups of people clustered in their final moments, each one a story, each one a tragedy, each one a reminder of what was lost that day in 79 AD. 1912 AD. An excavation team works in the forum area, removing the accumulated pumice layer by layer, brushing away ash, revealing what's beneath, revealing the hidden city, the buried stories. They find three figures seated together, arms wrapped around each other, a man, a woman, and a young person, family clearly, holding each other, protecting each other, loving each other to the very end. The archaeologists work carefully, reverently. They pour plaster, create the casts, preserve the moment, the final moment, the moment of ending that is also the moment of love, of connection, of what matters most. When the casts are finished, when the figures are revealed, everyone stops, just looks, just witnesses, just sees what these three people did, how they faced the end, how they chose to spend their final moments together, holding each other, finding comfort, finding meaning, finding love in the face of annihilation. One archaeologist, a young woman named Isabella, cries as she documents them. She doesn't know their names, doesn't know their stories, doesn't know about Marcus the scribe, or Claudia, or Lucius, doesn't know about the office, or the cashier's contract, or the dinner, or the decision to stay. But she knows enough. She knows they loved. She knows they stayed together. She knows they faced the end as family, and that's enough. That's everything. She labels them in the catalog. Family group, forum area, Pompeii, circa 79 AD. Three individuals seated position embracing, likely father, mother, and adolescent son. Cause of death, asphyxiation and burial during eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Clinical, factual, accurate, but also completely inadequate. How do you describe love in a catalog entry? How do you document meaning? How do you preserve what actually matters about these three people? You can't. Not really. Not fully. The statistics and measurements and scientific observations tell you how they died, but they don't tell you how they lived. Don't tell you about Marcus's morning walks, or Claudia's cooking, or Lucius's dreams of studying poetry. Don't tell you about the small moments and ordinary days and accumulated life that led to this final moment. Those stories are lost, buried deeper than the bodies, sealed in the silence of death, unknowable, gone. Except they're not entirely gone, because the moment is preserved, the final act is visible, the ending is clear, and from endings we can infer beginnings, from death we can understand life, from how people chose to die, we can imagine how they chose to live. These three people stayed together, held each other, found comfort in connection rather than trying to save themselves individually. That tells a story, that reveals character, that shows what mattered most. They loved. They were a family. They chose each other over survival, over escape, over everything else. And that is enough to know. That is enough to remember. That is enough to honor. The casts are moved carefully, preserved, eventually placed in a museum, the archaeological park of Pompeii, where thousands of visitors come every year, come to see the buried city, come to witness history, come to remember the day the mountain woke. They walk through streets that Marcus walked, past houses like Marcus's house, through the forum where Marcus spent his final hours. They see the city he knew, the world he inhabited, the place he called home. And they see the casts, the plaster figures, the preserved moments, the visible endings of invisible lives. The family in the forum draws crowds, always, every day. People gather around the display case, look at the three figures, see the embrace, see the protection, see the love made visible in plaster and ash. They take photos, they cry, they hold their own families a little tighter. They are moved by something they can't quite name, some recognition, some understanding that these could be them, that they are them, that we're all Marcus and Claudia and Lucius, all temporary, all fragile, all holding on to what matters most while we can. A tour guide explains the eruption, the science, the volcanic mechanisms, the pyroclastic flows and ash falls, and all the geological processes that buried the city. She's good at her job, knowledgeable, clear, engaging. But then she pauses at the family display. Her professional demeanor softens, her voice becomes quieter, more personal. We don't know their names, she says. We don't know their occupations, or their history, or their daily lives, but we know this. We know that when the end came, they chose to face it together. They could have scattered, could have tried individual escape, but they didn't. They stayed together, held each other, found comfort in connection. She looks at her tour group, 20 people from around the world, different ages, different backgrounds, different languages, but all human, all temporary, all living lives that will end. That's what Pompeii teaches us, she continues. Not the destruction, not the disaster, but this. The reminder that we're all temporary, that cities fall and mountains wake and nothing lasts forever, but also that love is real, connection is real. The moments we spend with the people who matter, those are real. Those are what matters. Those are what makes a life worth living. The group is silent, respectful, moved, They look at the casts, see themselves, see their families, see the human condition made visible in plaster. A young father holds his daughter's hand a little tighter. An elderly couple stands closer together. A teenage boy stops looking at his phone and actually sees the figures, actually witnesses, actually understands, perhaps for the first time, that life is finite, that time is precious, that connection is everything. The tour continues through the rest of the city, through houses and theaters and bakeries and temples, through the material evidence of Roman life, through the beautiful preserved moment that is Pompeii. But the family stays with them, the image, the embrace, and the choice, the reminder of what matters most. Present day. Nearly 2,000 years after the eruption, after Marcus and Claudia and Lucius sat together in the forum, after the pumice buried them, after the moment froze. The excavations continue, new technology, new techniques, ground penetrating radar, 3D scanning, digital reconstruction, science advancing, understanding deepening, the story of Pompeii being written and rewritten as new discoveries emerge. A researcher named Dr. Elena Rossi studies the forum area. Her specialty is social archaeology, daily life, ordinary people, the small stories that collectively tell the big story of how humans actually lived. She's fascinated by the family group, has studied the casts extensively, measured them, analyzed them, tried to understand who they were, what their lives were like, why they made the choices they made. She knows from the bone structure that the adult male was in his 40s, not young, not old, middle-aged. The adult female similar, the young person mid-teens, male, still growing, still becoming. She knows from their position that they died from asphyxiation, suffocated by the ash-laden air, buried by the pumice. Death probably took hours, slow, gradual, exhausting, terrifying. But she also knows from their position that they weren't alone, weren't isolated. They held each other, comforted each other, faced the end together. That tells her more than measurements ever could. She writes papers about them, academic papers published in journals, read by other archaeologists, contributing to the scholarly understanding of Pompeii, of Roman life, of human behavior in disaster. But she also writes something else, something not for journals, something personal, a creative reconstruction, an imagined story based on evidence and research and deep study of the period. She imagines a man named Marcus, a scribe, because they found styluses and wax tablets in a nearby building, because someone had to write the contracts and wills and documents that kept society functioning, because every city needs scribes. She imagines his wife, his son, his daily routine, his morning walks, his work, his love for his family, his decision to stay, his final moments. She can't prove any of it, can't verify the details. The names are invented, the conversations imagined, the internal thoughts created from whole cloth. But it feels true, feels right, feels like a story that could have happened, that probably did happen in some form to Marcus or to someone like Marcus, to someone real, to someone human. She publishes it not as scholarship but as fiction. The last day in imagined life in Pompeii. Some colleagues criticize her, say she's crossing boundaries, mixing science with storytelling, inventing rather than discovering. But others understand. Others see the value because stories matter, narrative matters. The human details that can't be measured or verified, but that make history feel real, feel human, feel like it actually happened to actual people. The book becomes popular, not a bestseller, but read, discussed, used in classrooms, translated into multiple languages, reaching people who would never read archaeological journals, reaching people who need the story, who need the reminder, who need to feel connected to the past, to other humans, to the great chain of temporary existence that connects us all. Elena receives letters, emails, messages from readers thanking her, telling her how the story affected them, how it made them appreciate their own lives, their own families, their own temporary moments. One message stays with her from a man in his 60s, recently diagnosed with terminal cancer, facing his own ending, his own final days. He writes, "Thank you for Marcus, for showing me how to face the end with love, with family, with gratitude for what was rather than grief for what won't be. Your story helped me understand that a life doesn't need to be long to be complete. It just needs to be lived with awareness, with presence, with love." Marcus lived 43 years and lived them well. I've lived 65, some good years, some bad. But reading about Marcus reminded me to focus on the good, to be grateful, to hold my family close while I can, to face what's coming with dignity and love. So thank you for Marcus, for his story, for the reminder. Elena cries when she reads it, alone in her office, surrounded by books and papers and artifacts, surrounded by the past, but connected in this moment to the present, to a living human, to someone facing what Marcus faced, to someone choosing how to spend their final moments. And she realizes this is why the work matters, not the measurements or the papers or the academic contributions. Those matter too. But this connection across time, This reminder of shared humanity, this story that helps the living face their own mortality, their own temporary existence, their own precious, fragile, beautiful lives. This is why we dig, why we excavate, why we remember, not just to understand the past, but to understand ourselves, to recognize that we're all temporary, all Marcus, all Claudia, all Lucius, all holding each other while we can, all making choices about how to spend our limited time, all facing endings we can't prevent, all human, all temporary, all precious. Night falls on Pompeii, not the eternal gray twilight of 79 AD, but ordinary night. Stars visible now, sky clear, beautiful, the kind of night Marcus might have enjoyed, might have stood outside to witness, might have appreciated. The archaeological park is closed, visitors gone, gates locked, the city resting, silent, preserved, waiting for tomorrow's tourists, tomorrow's scholars, tomorrow's witnesses. But the stories remain, eternal even in their temporariness, present even in their absence, alive even in their death. Marcus remains in plaster, in display cases, in academic papers, in Elena's book, in the minds of thousands who've seen the casts, who've felt moved by something they can't quite name, who've been reminded of what matters. He remains in the choice he made, to stay with his family, to hold them close, to face the end with love rather than fear, with connection rather than isolation, with gratitude rather than regret. That choice echoes across 2,000 years, reaches forward to us, to now, to this moment, reminds us of what we already know but often forget, that life is temporary, that love is real, that the moments we spend with the people who matter are the only moments that actually count. Everything else, the work and worry and endless striving, it's all secondary, all supporting structure for the main story, which is we are here for a little while, and what we do with that time, how we choose to spend it, who we choose to spend it with, that's the story. That's the meaning. That's the answer to every question. Marcus knew this on his last day, in his final moments. He knew what mattered, knew what was real, knew what he wanted his last conscious thoughts to be. Gratitude, love, connection, presence. Not achievement or status or wealth or accomplishment, just being with people he loved in moments that mattered, present, aware, alive. That's the gift of Pompeii, and that's what the city teaches us. Not how to die, how to live, how to be present, how to appreciate, how to love, how to spend our temporary moments wisely, carefully, consciously. The mountain took everything from Marcus, his life, his future, his city, his world, everything. But it couldn't take what mattered most, couldn't take the love, couldn't take the choice, couldn't take the final moments of connection and meaning and presence. Those remain, preserved, eternal, echoing forward, reaching us, teaching us, reminding us. We are all Marcus, all temporary, all facing endings we can't prevent. The question is, what will we do with our time? How will we spend our moments? Who will we hold when the end comes? Those questions are answered not in the final moments, but in all the moments leading up, in the daily choices, in the ordinary days, in the walks at dawn and the family dinners and the careful work and the small kindnesses and the accumulated life that defines who we are. Marcus lived well, ordinary life, but fully lived, with awareness, with care, with love. That's all any of us can do, all any of us should aspire to. Not greatness, not fame, not achievement, just presence, love, connection, gratitude, living well in the time we're given, with the people we're given, in the circumstances we're given. That's enough. That's everything. That's the story. And so we leave Marcus, leave Claudia, leave Lucius, leave Pompeii. We leave them as we found them, together, holding each other, preserved in a moment that tells a story of love, of choice, of what matters most. They're still there, in the forum, in the museum, in plaster casts and scholarly papers, and Elena's book and the memories of thousands of visitors, still teaching, still reminding, still reaching across time to tell us what they learned. Life is temporary, love is real, presence is everything. Hold your people close, appreciate your ordinary days. Be grateful for your temporary moments, because that's all any of us have. Time, and what we choose to do with it. Marcus chose well. On his last ordinary day, on the day before everything ended, he chose presence, chose love, chose gratitude. And in the end, that's what remains, not the endings, the choices. Not the death, the life, not the burial, the loves. That's what echoes forward. That's what matters. That's what survives. Rest now. You've traveled through time, through Marcus's last day, through his ordinary, beautiful, precious life, through his ending, through his remembering. Let yourself settle now. Let the story fade. Let sleep come gently, knowing what Marcus knew, that life is temporary, that love is real, that this moment right now is precious. You're here, you're alive, you're loved. That's enough. That's everything. Sleep well, sleep deeply, sleep peacefully. The story is finished, the day is done, the journey is complete. Rest now. You are home. Thank you for joining us here at Dusk Tales. May your sleep be peaceful and your dreams be gentle. Until our next story together, good night.